So let's look at some of the data. We'll put on screen now some of the findings in terms of maturity of the FSM technology. And the way that we structured the study was to try and understand the maturity levels of these organizations from a field service management technology perspective, from a field service management service design perspective. Then we looked at their fleet management technologies, again, in terms of their maturity, to try and understand where those correlations are, as well as then start to look at the business structure as well, and where these dots are connected, or where they were. So that was the model that we took. So let's have a look to start with. We saw with FSM technology, and I think, Steve, you probably would have anticipated this as much as I did. There is a reasonable level of maturity now across almost all organizations. Majority of organizations have some layer of FSM. Mobile applications are almost omnipresent. About half the organizations had a layer of dynamic scheduling, which makes sense to me because dynamic scheduling isn't right for every organization. It's dependent on complexity and size. So I think, again, that's probably starting to hit its kind of critical mass, where I don't know there's a huge amount more organizations will step into that. So the maturity levels of field service management companies in general. We do have to take into account that field service news does tend to have a slightly more invested audience. To be honest, we have to always factor that in FSM studies because audience tend to be slightly more forward thinking in terms of their service strategies and their application of technologies. But I still think there was enough organizations here. We reach out beyond the FSM audience for these studies as well. That this provides a fairly robust snapshot. I suppose my opening question, and this is more drawing back on the field aware part of the business and the field service management part of the business that GPS Insight now has taken ownership of. Looking at how we've hit that layer of maturity, do you think that those service leaders watching this now, they should be thinking about how they supplement that technology, or have we reached a point, because we see this in fairly common cycles, where systems hit that kind of plateau, and then they become legacy systems, and we see next-gen systems. And so I suppose my question is a bit of a random one, Steve, I apologise. But I suppose my question is, are we still at a point where we should be adding bits into FSM in terms of the technology and the technology stack? Or should these organisations now be thinking we're hitting the point of legacy and we should be exploring replacing systems with next generation systems? So an opening gambit on that.
Yeah, no, certainly, and I suppose it really depends. It depends on the underlying technology. We've all benefited or field service providers have benefited from pursuing best of breed technologies. We've gone away from having to compromise to say, well, I have a monolithic application, and so therefore I'm going to compromise on aspects of that. The SaaS-based, cloud-based technologies have enabled people to have that luxury of choosing the right applications to move forward, and so they have plugged in over-the-top services so they can do their remote diagnostics, that they can start to analyze IoT data and data streaming. But there are a lot of companies out there that are still running on-prem or early generation technologies for their base field service capabilities, and when you look at servitization, you look at the increasing use of outcome-based services. For them, the right thing to do is to also look at moving on to current best of breed, and then still continuing to plug and play on supporting technologies. But there is we see a number of companies where they really are struggling to evolve their field service business, because they have an ERP system and they have a legacy field service application. And so for them, definitely, for those that have moved and they are in the cloud, then there's probably more mileage that they've got on those technologies that they can use. But yeah, so it's very different. It depends on each individual.
Sure.